Sweet. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm excited to be here. This is a much bigger conference than I thought it was. It's a ton of people, so very exciting. Like he said, I'm Boston Cartwright, and today I want to talk about the AI layer. So kind of to get started, show of hands, who here are front-end developers, including full stack? Majority, and what about backend? Yeah, also majority, so mostly full stack, which is awesome. So let's talk about the new layer. So a little bit about me. I am here from St. George, Utah. If you talked to me earlier, I probably said Vegas because Vegas is a lot closer to St. George than Salt Lake. St. George is very different than Salt Lake, so I'm from there. I've been in the industry for maybe like 6 years. At work, I'm known for using a very large cursor. They all make fun of me for it. I never lose it. So if we look at since just from December to today, I submitted this talk last December. Agents meant a different thing than they do today. Vibe coding didn't exist. A ton of things have happened. We've got Claude 4 now, we've got GPT-5, we got 1,000 new models. Things are getting released every week. I think in the last 2 hours, GitHub decided to release their own CLI coding agent tool, also coined Copilot. But so things are changing so rapidly in this space, and I'm sure you've heard of that today. So what's really happening? Last month in August, I had the opportunity to attend a conference in Vegas called AI4. They kind of market themselves as the world's premier AI conference for business community. It was a big conference. It was like 8,000 attendees. I attended a bunch of sessions, and in each one of them, they defined agent differently. Some of them said it was a chatbot or something that makes actions or uses tools. Like, I don't know what an agent is these days anymore. They defined it way different ways. Vibe coding has also diluted. We saw that term only get introduced in February, and now it's kind of taken the buzzword. It originally meant you don't care about the code, you're just building a product, and now all the engineering leadership is like, we need to vibe code all the time, but we need to care about the code. And so like, there's a ton of things that are just changing fast. I kind of like to call what my vibe coding is AI-powered engineering, where you're able to use AI to help you. But I'm sure we'll see another name for it, I don't know, tomorrow. Someone will announce it here maybe. So we also saw Cursor is the fastest growing SaaS of all time. I think they were the fastest to hit 100 million earlier this year, and I think they're over 300 million annual recurring revenue now. So they're like crazy fast. Also, Austin Allred. If you don't know Austin, he's been an educator in the tech space for a long time. He now runs a boot camp up in Austin, Texas, called Gauntlet AI, where they do a lot of AI learning. And he said that when he ran a survey with them, the consensus of staying on the cutting edge of AI requires at least an hour per day. So things are moving fast. The model race continues. But really, products are coming, and they're the important part. So I kind of want to talk about how AI is not a chat box. And I say chat box instead of chatbot because I attended AI4 last month, like I said, and this really influential person, I don't remember their name, but they gave one of the keynotes, and she kept saying chat box instead of chatbot. So I thought I'd continue, maybe it's helpful. But really, we need to not ship the lowest leverage pattern first. It's so easy to just get in there and make a chatbot where the LLM does the majority of the work, and then you just kind of get some of those rewards, but it doesn't help that much. I can't tell you the number of times I go to some website, and it tries to put up this little chat window, and it's like, talk to our guy about your question. I'm like, I really don't want to. I'd rather click 12 pages before I talk to them. So we got to get beyond the chatbot, right? It's not the product. Treating AI as a widget that you put on top of your product is not as powerful as actually embedding the leverage AI gives you into your product. So I want to talk about some of those patterns, and we've seen some of these. Some of these you probably didn't even know was AI. But let's talk about some of these and we'll go into how they work. First one is inline assist, right? So how can we help people to edit their content faster? Copilot kind of kicked this off with introducing inline assist. So you just start typing, the model suggests you can accept it or you can ignore it. We see this with cursor tab, I think they call it, or next edit prediction. This one's huge. People love it, I love it, I use it all the time. And it's getting even more powerful. Next edit assist, we're seeing, at least in programming, where it can go across files and things. But even now, I get surprised when I start typing a response to an email in Gmail, it tries to predict what I'm going to say too, which is super cool. Another one is decision support. So the capability that LLMs provide so that we can summarize and rank and highlight anomalies. So a good example of this is, let's see here, where we can have these videos are not playing automatically. There we go. Where we can have all this data come in and then flag things that seem like anomalies. So in this, we have a bunch of invoices come, and if it's above a certain amount, then we are concerned and we could say, uh-oh, let's take a look at this, right? So here we're helping the user to make a decision by highlighting the parts that matter, removing the noise and showing the signal. Another one is extraction and automation. This one's actually starting to take a lot more shape in the last few weeks, kind of getting coined like intelligent document processing, and just kind of like being able to take a lot of data and normalize it using LLMs. So this is like, okay, I have a PDF, I have an email, I can take all that and form this table of data, and then the AI can actually get a lot of that would be tedious process for us for data entry, but then it can flag things that maybe it couldn't find. Maybe the handwriting was a little messy or something like, it can flag those for us to look at later on. And then last one, this one's existed a long time now, is personalization. So specifically being able to do dynamic ranking and then adapting your UI based on that ranking. We've seen this in YouTube, Netflix, TikTok, Instagram, all of these, where you have this set of items and then they can re-rank based on your actual user preferences. So we give them all a score and then they can re-rank and give you ones that you're more likely to click on, right? So these are some patterns. They're not all of them, but I kind of wanted to go through them to get your brain thinking on how do I use AI in a non-chat way? How can I actually get in there? Before I actually dive deep into the how. So this is kind of like the features that you can do, how to use AI, but now how do we build these features and kind of get into the technical part here. So first, what we really want to highlight, and I think I've said this multiple times, but I'll say it again, is we really want to highlight what's going to give the user the most value. So you want to take what is their biggest friction, how often do they do it, and do you have the data in order to improve it? And then if you have all that, then it ranks really high there, then that's what you should start hitting on. So I know I said defining the AI layer. I actually would say that AI is not a layer. I think it needs to be embedded in all the layers. Kind of like auth or logging or anything else like that, observability. I think AI is able to be enhanced there. I kind of like to think of AI as a spine on a book. You can read a book with all the pages without a spine, but sure is a pain. Then you stick AI on there and it helps a lot. So it enhances it, makes it way easier. Now the anti-pattern is, oh, we can do this cool thing with AI, let's make it that feature without actually seeing what the true product and value you're bringing. So I want to dive deep, and we'll have to go fast through these, but into 4 separate techniques. Domain-specific knowledge, so this is being able to give your LLM and your AI an expert in what you work in. So how do you make it actually useful in what you work in? Agents, I will give a definition of agents, that is mine, but we'll see how long it sticks. Tools and then evaluations. So first, for domain-specific knowledge, there's a lot of different ways. I know you've heard of a few of these. Let's go through them. So starting with continuous pre-training, this is one that you probably will rarely ever use. In fact, I'll be shocked if we have many people that have used this. This is the idea that you take a base model that's there, you add in some of your domain data, and this can be unstructured. It can just be a random thing of documents or anything like that. And then you retrain your model on a continuous loop every so often. So you take that, you train it, you of course evaluate it, make sure it's still correct, and then you get a new model and then you do it again. A good example of this is like family law, where it's changing often, and you know, there's new court decisions, tons of documents out there. It's not structured, it's not labeled. You can just continuously pre-train to get those results into your model, and then it's going to be smarter and make sure that your percentage is higher. Fine-tuning. This one I think we've heard about a bit, and maybe you guys have done it. This is where you take that same base model, but instead of just giving it a bunch of unstructured data, you give it structured data. This could be a question and answer or labeled somehow to say like, hey, with this input, you should give this output, right? And it basically doesn't give it new knowledge, but it kind of courses it to the right path that you want it to be on. So it's kind of like a coach refining a technique to a player in a sport, like a golf coach, right? They know how to hit the ball, but the coach is going to help them do it better. So the process here is you take your model, you format your data set, you do that training, and then you evaluate to see how much better it is. A good example is support reply. So we all have support bots and stuff in our companies. So you take these highly resolved tickets, high quality resolved tickets, you say, hey, someone responded really well to this. Let's take that into a data set that is structured, and then we can train our model or fine tune our model on that, and then it will score better because it knows how we want to answer in our specific space. Another one is prompt engineering. We've all seen this one. They talked about it earlier, in fact. You just want to ensure your prompt is optimized for the model. I'll say that I have found that models act differently to their prompts. Here's an example. I don't want to dive too deep in this one. It's pretty basic. As you improve your prompts, you'll get better results for sure, but there is diminishing returns there. Vector embeddings, or RAG, this idea that you can get data as your AI is running is really cool. So you take all this data, you clean it, you chunk it, and you embed it into a vector database. And then when a user goes to do it, what happens is you get the user query on whatever they're trying to do, you embed that query, and then you compare that to the database you have in order to get the data back, and then you unembed it back out and give that to the LLM to use as citations in your answer. So you can change a bunch of things here, but a good example of this is internal policy answers. So let's say you have a giant handbook and a bunch of notes, and you want to take that and be able to use it as citations in your app. We've seen tons of apps do this. GPT Search can do it now, Perplexity does it, and then you can do it for small things. I kind of want to show a demo here. Let's see if I can pull it up. And so I built one of these for my company a while back, so hopefully there's no secret stuff in here. But we have a Slack bot where I built that is trained on all of our security information, and our security team will go in there and ask it questions to get answers to fill out security questionnaires faster. So at my company, we get a bunch of security questionnaires from companies to make sure they're allowed to use our product and blah, blah, blah. And so they'll come in here and they'll ask like, hey, what is our policy on this? Or how do we want to answer this? And of course, the Wi-Fi doesn't work here. But they get answers. What's funny is we have another channel called Security Question. And that one's a public channel. Anyone in the company can go and ask a question to the security engineers. And I have found now that I provided this, and I provided this maybe in February, what they typically will do is take the question and come over here and copy paste it, and then copy paste the response and take it back. And I'm like, well, we should just put it in there. And they're like, well, we don't know if the answer is right yet. Like, they're struggling to trust it fully. So that's something I need to work on. But it's really cool to see them using it full time. All right, another one, agents. We're going to talk a little bit more about agents in a minute. But the idea that you can do things in a loop and even have tool use. This is really good for when you have more complex flows that's not deterministic, where you need to solve things such as a billing proration answer. So if we upgrade mid-cycle, what is the total? And then an agent could plan, how do I actually get this data? It could use a tool. I need to get the invoices. I need to get the line items, what the remaining days are, and then calculate it. This part is huge here, where you want to use a tool for calculations. LLMs are notoriously bad at math, but if you give them a calculator, they can do it. So, and then you can get the result there. So this table is kind of cool. It takes all of these items and kind of helps you understand when you want to use what. You kind of start left and go right. Continuous pre-train, which we talked at the first in this, is probably the one you would rarely use. But you can have a ton of data, and you don't have to have it labeled or structured in any way, right? Thing is, cost is also a lot higher with that. And so I thought this was a cool table that I made that kind of shows the different trade-offs that you get with these. So agents. To me, an agent is just an LLM that is in a loop. And that's the beyond, like that's as far as agents go. I will say, however, though, that business stakeholders will say anything that uses AI is an agent. It doesn't have, might not even use AI, but looks like it's using AI, it's an agent. So just keep that in mind as you talk to business stakeholders. The core pattern here is you just have a loop and you just call the agent again and again until it says that it's done. It's really that simple. When you would do it, I kind of talked a little bit earlier, is you want to use it when the task needs multiple steps, or it's complex, or there's chance for errors and you want to be able to handle those errors, or you want to change where you're going based on some results mid-run. And I added this note here that any AI usage is labeled as agent anyway, so just keep that in mind. And then tools. So LLMs know patterns. That's how they work. You talk to them and they give you a pattern. But tools let them touch reality. So you can go from deterministic to using fresh data, run code, or even take action. So I'm sure we're all familiar with a bunch of tools that we've used, especially in our IDEs and things, where it can edit files or query databases or send emails or things like that. There's also MCP servers we're all familiar with. My hot take is I actually don't love MCP servers except specific reasons, but if you're curious about that, you can talk to me later about it. But and then evaluations. So evaluations are critical in this domain because it helps you to understand what's working and what's not working for your LLM, right? So you want to take away the glow of the demo and say, is it actually helping my customers? Is this actually bringing value to what they're trying to do in my platform? So Anthropic keeps saying, others as well, robust evaluations are hard to build, but foundational to responsible scaling. So the whole idea here is being able to use your product to know that you're making actual change to them, and you're providing guardrails, and you're not just hoping that the AI is doing the right thing. I think that's the toughest part as people are building AI tools is there's kind of, it's really non-deterministic, right? So you're kind of hoping, okay, I put it out there, is it actually going to do what I want it to? Is it gonna respond the right way? Is someone gonna come in and just jailbreak it and talk about trying to find a cure of cancer on my car application site or whatever? Like, it's really unknown, and so with evaluations and observability, you can get there. So evaluations are pretty, like, this is more complex than it needs to be, but a typical loop is hey, I have these data, these patterns that I typically go through. I'll run the models or my product through it. I'll score what the outputs are, analyze it, and see what's working, what's not working. We see this with benchmarks every time a new model is out. And then we're also starting to see this with benchmarks of products built on top of the models. I think the really popular one is Live Code Bench, is a really popular one that the models don't actually work on, but like the products on top of them. So Claude Code or Codex or even Cursor is working, having scores against that Live Code Bench, or Terminal Bench, I think, is another one as well. So kind of to recap here, AI is the spine. It really can give you a ton of leverage when you actually build it into your products themselves rather than just building a chat app on top of your product. You want to infuse it in the flows. It should feel like magic. Like your customers shouldn't even know that it's AI. It should just be like, wow, how did it know to do that already? I think Apple's kind of like the pro at just making it feel like magic. They had a lot of AI before they even announced their Apple Intelligence. And so just make it in there and avoid the chatbot. I'm just tired of chatbots. You can tell this is just a rant, not an actual informational talk. And then as far as you're trying to take your skills to bring it into domain, you want to start with prompt, go to those tools, fine tune. You might continuously pre-train, but only when it really makes sense. So what's your next move? My challenge here is kind of go in your app or whatever you're building and try to find 5 user frictions in the next week and then rank them. Look at them and say, well, do they do this often? Do they just do this once and forget about it? And what data do you have about it, and how big is that friction? Is it adding hours or is it adding seconds to what they're trying to do? And then stand up an evaluation to start evaluating how long that friction is taking. So then you can add in AI-powered features on top of it, enhance it with AI, and then you can see the evaluation go down. And if you measure that, then you go to your boss and say, I improved this by 40% or whatever, and then you get 5 raises in the next year or something, hopefully, right? So anyway, I'm happy to answer any question. I think we have 2 minutes, or we can talk outside, but thank you.